My name is Calvin Payne. No pain, no gain. And I have put my name forward for one of the two at-large councillor opportunities.
Hi, my name is Brad Mannering. I'm a local small business owner and I'm standing for mayor.
So hi, I'm Lydia Glidden. I'm running for mayor.
My name is Paul Wiggery and I'm a Conservative high school English teacher and I'm standing for councillor.
Residents deserve a strong voice at council.
My focus is on creating connection.
Review council's plan line by line. Millions could be saved, remove nice to haves.
You're really worried about Waithel Council spending.
Also, my top priorities as mayor is fairer rates.
My top priorities are stop the spend and start the mend.
A quick introduction and a quick pitch. It's like a dating site for candidates. But these guys aren't after a flirty date or long-time love. They want your vote for local body elections.
So if you'd like a councillor who's committed to being a voice of reason and common sense around the council table, then I'd appreciate you putting Wood as your number one vote.
If those are important to you, then vote for me.
I humbly ask you for your vote to be the next mayor of Whangarei. Thank you.
Kia ora, I'm Amanda Gillies and today on The Detail, local body elections, considered the most grassroots level of our country's democracy. There's now less than a month left of campaigning and voting is officially underway. And so too is the onslaught of candidate headlines, both good and bad.
Confidential document reveals Mayor's office drinks on the night of Auckland's floods.
That's Newsroom co-editor Tim Murphy, who wrote that headline and who happens to be my husband. But that's not why I'm talking to him for this episode. It's because he's covered local body elections for more than 4 decades. We'll have more from him in a moment about last-minute leaks and candidates making the news for the right and wrong reasons. And I chat to Scott Necklin, the new interim CEO of Local Government New Zealand, about how these elections are shaping up, what the big issues are this year, his view on the Māori ward debate and 4-year terms, and how they can increase voter turnout, attract more high-quality candidates, and eliminate abuse.
Oh, look, I think it's hugely exciting. We are looking at the next cohort of elected members that will make critical decisions that's going to affect us for generations to come. And I think that is the critical element. Take time to think about what's important to you. Take time to think about who you want to vote for.
To secure those votes and the job as mayor or councillor or board member, candidates are going hard in their communities, on social media and in the media. And people are leaking information on rivals to journalists. One of the latest was about Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown and the drinks he had in his office on the night of the deadly Auckland floods. Tim Murphy broke the story.
I'm not sure how scandalous it is, but this is just a fuller picture of what happened at what was the low point of Wayne Brown's first term. He's up for re-election now, and just as he is, this document has emerged via another journalist to me, and it is basically revealing that one of the details about the fated night in Auckland when our severe flash flooding crippled the city and ended up with 3 people losing their lives, that on that night, as they waited in the council building, that there were office drinks going on in the mayor's office.
The story quickly became a talking point. Here's Heather Duplessis-Allen on News Talk ZB.
But remember, Auckland Council was really crap at their response, and they did not sign a state of emergency declaration until 9:30 and then didn't tell the public until 10:15 because they were having drinks. It now transpires in Wayne Brown's office.
The timing of this is interesting. We've got the local body elections. They're happening now in less than a month. How has the Mayor responded to this and also the timing of this story?
Well, the Mayor's confirmed that some drinks were had, but his take on it is that that was before they realised the extent of the flooding and the damage. And then once they did, everyone, and take this as you will, switched spontaneously to non-alcoholic drinks.
Do you think there is something slightly more sinister that people are trying to bring down Wayne Brown? Why didn't the story come out earlier?
Well, no doubt that those who think this should be out believe it should be out before an election. And so there's no doubt about that timing. I don't know how sinister it is. I think people are just keen that the full story, and as journalists and at Newsroom, our decision making was, well, if you obtain this document and you know these things, is it actually an active suppression in an election period not to air it and not to put that before the voting public? So we considered these things, and plainly someone does believe this needs to be out there. We weighed whether anyone has any particular gain, and also whether, there's no suggestion that the mayor did anything that is more liable than what they already are known to have done, which was to have pretty much failed on the night to have made decisions and to have communicated and to have opened evacuation centres and to make the public feel that someone was in control.
Do you think this will have any impact on his campaign?
Who knows? He's probably well ahead. The field of those against him is lower profile. He's had a good profile since that early calamity in early 2023. So he's had a couple of years of achieving things that he can fall back on. But the other thing is people, voters might shrug their shoulders and say, well, we knew they stuffed up. We suspected they're probably not focused and, forgive a drink or two in a time of crisis.
Underprepared and a lack of leadership. Auckland Council has been slammed in a damning report into the immediate response to the January floods.
But former Police Commissioner Mike Bush didn't lay the blame on any single person, rather saying a series of failings dating back as far as 2016 contributed to the catastrophic response.
Why didn't it make Mike Bush's report?
Well, the Mike Bush report was the inquiry into the floods that happened a couple of months later. The council document mentioned that there were drinks in the mayor's office, and in 2 references. They now tell us that was put to Bush, but Bush chose in his report just to say that the mayor was in his office from 4 o'clock till midnight. So that's something that Mike Bush only knows, and his people. The council says they presume he didn't mention that there were office drinks because it was irrelevant to his focus.
Now, this is a lesson in us remembering, and this is the best case of it so far that I can think of, that when you get a report, right, and it gives you the information, always ask who asked for the report, because whoever paid for the report probably gets a final say on what goes into the report. And I would say that probably happened here, don't you think? And that's why we didn't find out about the drinks until now, until the local body elections, and someone's leaked it.
What about your readers and, your listeners and your viewers? How have they responded to the story and the timing of it?
Some say, look, this is a thing to try and get at the mayor. Some say we always knew this was the sort of thing you got with this mayor. It's almost like people aren't that shocked by the fact that this was the circumstance. And, we don't do it to shock. We just felt, there it is. It's for the first time it's become a detail that didn't emerge in the inquiry, was sort of conveniently not aired. Does this require a bit more information? So that's why we put it before people.
Now, you've been covering local body elections like either as a reporter, an editor, the boss at the Herald, the boss at Newsroom for more than 40 years. Do you think, though, people actually do? Your everyday Kiwis care about local body elections? Are we more interested now than, say, 40 years ago, 30 years ago?
Voting records would say no, and that only 35% vote now. In general elections, it's 75-80%. So you'd say there's a way less interest in having your say, having your influence. But I think conversely, when it comes down to the raw local politics, things like dogs and whether you can have them in parks, and things like parking and bike lanes and all these sort of direct daily life impacts, there's an intense feeling, and local politicians will tell you that they get a remarkable feedback constantly on that, and mayors do as well. So at the public hearings or meetings, the candidate meetings and debates that these people have, they're getting absolutely grilled on very detailed local impacts. Now, you might say, well, that seems a bit dull and every day, but that's the sort of stuff that get people going. And so when something like this, say, the Brown failures, or the council and Brown failures back in early 2023 at the storms, that lasts, because when something bad like that happens, people just expect someone somewhere in the city will be taking charge and taking command. It didn't happen. Everyone was just left looking at each other for too many hours. So that resonates. And the same with the Wellington issue with Tory whānau and the complaints there. That allegation that was made against her most recently.
Chung has sent an email to 3 of his fellow councillors with the heading "A Sordid Night on the Town,"
in which he claimed Tory whānau had a night of debauchery.
He claimed Tory had, quote, drug-fuelled tempestuous sex, and made references to her having pendulous soft breasts.
That she actually were made public so that people understood them. Those are things that people just remember, and in that case I think they remember it for what they would see as a sordid attempt to try and, almost make the voter believe something that wasn't really believable.
Scott Necklin, the new interim head of Local Government New Zealand, says that kind of dirty politics has no place in local body elections.
Oh, look, it's absolutely horrific, and certainly something we don't support in any way, shape or form. Nobody should go to work or run for office to be subject to any kind of, abuse. We very much support debate and, having good, robust conversation, but you don't play the person. That has no place in society.
But what he does encourage, what he does want more of, is voting. So I asked him, does he vote in local body elections?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Have you always voted in these elections since turning 18?
No, I can't say I have, but I spent a long time overseas, so that's possibly one of the reasons.
That's a valid excuse. Will you vote this year?
Absolutely, yes.
Is it an easy process to vote in these elections?
It is an easy process, but it does take some time to think about what's important to you and what you want to vote for.
The way we pick our local councils is going under the microscope with a new review by Local Government New Zealand. A key goal of the group will be to increase voter turnout. It's been steadily dropping over the past 3 decades.
Scott, why are we not voting? And, why are voter numbers down? What do you put that down to?
So local government, we traditionally get about a 40% voter turnout. We'd love to see that increase this time round. We'd love to get to 50% or even more if that's possible. And I think a lot of it is we live busy lives. We don't always appreciate what we get for our rates, so we don't necessarily understand the importance of our rates at work.
But people who just say, look, I don't care. It means nothing to me. Whatever, of no interest. What do you say to them right now?
Why should they care? Simply because local government touches everybody's lives every day. So if you compare, for example, your electricity bill, yes, it's probably less than your rates bill, but you get one utility for that. When you think about your rates, you get your local road, you get your parks, get your playgrounds, you get your swimming pool, you get your netball court, your rugby field, as well as things like, flood control and pest management. So you get a whole range of services that actually impact our lives on a daily basis. So for me, I'd like people just to think about the value that you get for your rates.
Voting papers have just been sent out and you have until October 7 to post those back or until midday October 11 to drop them off at a council ballot. Local Government New Zealand is confident of a better turnout than the most recent political election, the Tamaki Makaurau by-election just over a week ago.
Turnout for the election was low. Less than 27% of registered voters cast a ballot.
There was only one question that I was interested on Saturday night. Are Māori as disenchanted with politics and politicians as, frankly, everyone else?
If voter turnout continues to slide, I think what we are seeing then probably is a loss of local democratic decision-making and a loss of localism. So, we fiercely believe that communities should have choice, and I think the more we see declining voter turnout, the less choice we're potentially going to have in the future, and I think that'd be a real shame.
Is it time we change the way we vote? What's your take?
Yes, absolutely. So we know one of the big reasons people don't vote is they don't feel informed And so policy.nz helps to fill that gap. We've done some work over the last period of time on some electoral reform work, and we'd like to see some changes for 2028. So we'd like to see maybe a national body like the Electoral Commission actually run a consistent national election. And so that would help with consistency, it would help with just raising the profile and awareness of local government. We're also not sure that postal voting is the way to go as well. So we'd like to see things like in-person voting, any kind of a throwback to going down to your local school hall or public hall, sausage sizzle, make a bit of a day of it, but have that in-person voting that runs over a couple of weeks, very much like central government.
How likely is that?
Oh, I think there's a good opportunity for us to do that. So we've released a paper in July this year. We've been talking to the government. Obviously, the government's talking about a 4-year term. We'd also like to see a 4-year term.
Really?
And then you basically alternate every 2 years. And so you've got a good period of time in between elections as well. So, look, I think there's opportunity there, yes.
Why a 4-year term? What are the benefits of that?
A 4-year term, I think, would allow candidates to obviously think about running for election, take time to think about what they want to run for, and then campaign. So people that are currently elected have some time to run. You've then got 3 years to do some really good work before you then start thinking about elections again. So it just means that you've actually got a kind of a longer working cycle.
Voting papers are about to arrive for the local body elections, but for residents in 2 districts, they won't include anything about a mayoral contest. The mayors of Manawatu in the Lower North Island and Hurunui in North Canterbury will be elected unopposed. They see it as a sign of their districts seeking consistency, although one local government academic says it could actually signal apathy.
I found it interesting. I did a story earlier this year on this, and while candidate numbers are up, which is fantastic, you've got 6 one-term mayors who are leaving office. Some seats are going unchallenged.
Some races, no competition at all. The incumbent wins by default. In Lower Hutt, 5 councillors elected uncontested.
Auckland's deputy mayor is one of just 2 candidates in the local city election who's already in without having to do any campaigning. Amazing, yeah.
And in some cases, positions have no applicants. Your reaction to that, how do you feel about that?
Firstly, we're quite happy at the fact I think we've got just under 3,500 candidates running, so that shows that obviously people do care about their local communities and the issues facing their communities. But yes, I mean, there are some uncontested seats, and we'd love to see candidates obviously run for council, so that is a shame, yes.
The quality of candidates, what are they like?
I mean, ultimately, it's up to ratepayers to make some decisions about who they vote for. Goes back again to just making sure they take time to think about what's important for them, for their kids, their grandkids, take time to think about councils make intergenerational decisions. And so then look at your candidates, go to policy.nz, find out about your candidates, and then make an informed decision.
He delicately didn't answer that directly, but this YouTuber, who goes by Paul the Other One, gave some very good direct reasons why you shouldn't vote for some candidates this election.
I actually feel really confident in being able to say that today's candidates are absolutely ones that you should not vote for, because the candidates themselves or the organisations that they're running for have said that they would prefer you don't. Like stand-up comedian Jermaine Ross. He's running for the Waitakere Rangers local board because he told a room full of people he would, but he's now telling people, please do not vote for him. There's too much reading, and he actually feels like he doesn't have the right skill set needed for the job. In Rotorua Lakes, mayoral candidate Haihaitu Barrett has pulled out of the race for health reasons, but because that happened after the printing of the forms had been done, her name will still appear on the ballot. And in the Waikato for the Ngāhau e Whā ward in the Waikato Regional Council, candidate Maxine Moana Tuwhangai passed away suddenly last week, but after the ballots had been printed.
There are still 3,500 other candidates, and I asked Scott what are the big issues they are tackling this year.
Big issues this year. Look, infrastructure and investment is always going to be a big issue for us as a country. We've had a traditionally underspend, and we've also got a number of assets that are coming up to their useful life end. So that's always a big issue. And so thinking about how we fund and finance those is also another big issue. So currently, obviously, rates is the key way that councils get income. And what we want to see going forward is that there are other funding and financing tools, and ultimately that they are available for for communities to make a decision about how they want to fund their levels of service and the investment in their communities.
During year one on council, my priorities will be to reduce rate rises.
I'm committed to tackling the unaffordable yearly rates increases, ensuring that council spending is value for money.
I went and listened to some of the candidates and they're saying bring rates down. Realistically, are any rates coming down just in the current market and economy?
Look, nobody wants to pay more for anything. I mean, no one wants to pay more for butter or milk. No one wants to pay more for rates. But the reality is that we've had an underinvestment over a number of decades now, and we do have a number of assets that are actually coming to their useful end of life, and so we need to invest in those. So, look, I don't think rates are necessarily going to come down. No one wants to see them go up, but I do think we also want to look at how we fund our councils going forward and start thinking about alternative funding and financing tools. So we can move away from it being the ratepayer that funds the services that are really valuable to our communities and moving to having other ways of funding and financing those.
And what are those other ways?
So there's a number of different funding and financing tools. So one that we've had conversations with the government around is the share of GST, for example, on new builds. So there's GST on rates. We'd actually like to see that come back to the communities that paid for them in the first place. And then things like congestion charging and bed taxes. So moving away from just simply having ratepayers fund the services and the infrastructure to more of a kind of a user charge. So those people that are using those services can actually fund those services.
And the likelihood of that happening?
Look, we're quite hopeful. So we've already had some really good conversations. So the government has indicated consideration to the GST sharing on new builds. But I think the big one is the regional city deals. And so the proposals are with the government at the moment, and they're working through those. And they would see, obviously, some joint priorities between central government and local government. It would come with some different funding and financing tools and just some shared opportunities.
Forgive my ignorance on this, sharing GST on new builds, what does that look like?
So that would mean where we've got high growth councils, and obviously the government wants to encourage greater investment into housing development, that would mean that the GST would be shared between central government and local government. And so the local government and effectively local ratepayers are funding the development that goes into that. So they're funding the infrastructure, so the roads and the water, and so it would mean that would actually attract some income back to council, and ultimately that's the benefit of the wider community.
Now I want to talk Māori wards.
The councils have voted overwhelmingly to stand firm and keep Māori wards. It follows a recent contentious law change that means councils who want them must put it to a vote. Of the 45 councils who have recently established Māori wards or want to, most have already created them. Only 13 are still at the planning stage. The issues led to angry protest meetings and division among councillors. Only 2 councils voted not to have Māori wards, Kaipara and Upper Hutt.
The Māori ward debate has been a fiery one. Why do you think this is so divisive?
So I think for us, we feel that Māori wards should be treated like any other wards. So councils and communities, many have gone through that decision process already and have got Māori wards. So for us, it was a little bit of overreach from the government to then go, actually, we want a referenda to see whether or not communities want that. So we felt they should be treated exactly the same as other wards. We would encourage people that are, looking at that referenda and making those decisions over the next few weeks, just to take some time to engage with their council, to understand, why the council decided to put Māori wards in the first place, have a chat maybe to council officers or to current elected members to understand the value that Māori wards have given to the sector.
I just did a podcast recently about who's afraid of Aotearoa, so to speak, and there's been a lot of online abuse directed at what Māori have, what they don't. Have you seen any of that come through in this election or campaign so far?
We have seen and heard anecdotal evidence, I guess it's a wider societal issue. So you do hear, across a number of platforms and walks of life, I guess that increasing, sense that people can hide behind the computer screen and make comments that they wouldn't normally make face to face. So yes, it is an issue.
How do you deal with that?
So we've released a number of different guides and we've supported current elected members. And ultimately it's about, keeping you personally safe.
What do you think is going to be the biggest drama or the biggest, tightest race, the most, exciting moment, do you think, of this campaign?
Oh, I think there's too many to pick there, actually.
Oh, come on, give me one.
No, too many to pick. We'll be watching them all with interest.
That's it for today. The Detail is a newsroom production supported by RNZ and New Zealand On Air. Thank you to Tim Murphy and Scott Nicklin. This episode was produced by Gwen McClure and engineered by Phil Benj. I'm Amanda Gillies. Matua.